Good morning. Welcome to our Red Tara Practice and Contemplation group. We're currently contemplating Chagdud Rinpoche's book. There was also a collaboration with Lama Rigdzin, Change of Heart. And we're continuing to contemplate anger and how anger is destructive, and also how to deal with our anger and transform our anger. Let me turn this on. This might help a little bit.
There we go. So when someone confronts us, insults us, or threatens our self-interests, we actually have an opportunity to respond in a new way. The key lies in our mind, in our determination not to do or say anything that will escalate conflict. Our body and speech are like a great ship, and the mind is like the captain. If we want to change something, we have to change the mind. Otherwise, the ship will never change course. Just as contaminated groundwater ruins all the plants growing in the soil, retaliation merely contaminates our own mind. Our anger also poisons the minds of those around us, and they in turn feel justified in responding with anger of their own. We are creating terrible consequences for ourselves as well as for those who have been our mothers. Anger is like a transparency on an overhead projector. Overlaid on the mind and magnified, it will eventually project the reality of lower realms. Many people think that the teachings about the lower realms are just a scare tactic used by religious authorities to control people. They think that things, for example, like hell, don't really exist. In one way, they're right. If you dug a hole deep into the earth, you would never find a place called hell. Yet, the reality we call hell arises as a projection of the mind. A terrifying nightmare, the reflection of our anger and hatred that multiplies like an image in a house of mirrors. I don't like to talk about hell because it upsets people. They prefer to focus on the immediate consequences of anger in this lifetime, rather than think about its ramifications in future lives. But I am telling you from my heart that all of our actions will have consequences. Blinding ourselves to those consequences won't make them disappear, nor will it help us to avert them. Ingesting rat poison will harm us whether we realize it is rat poison or not. Nobody would intentionally create the causes of a hellish rebirth, but we can do so out of our ignorance unless we become aware of the effects of our anger. Truth be told, if we silly human beings could see karma more clearly, if we lived in a realm where the results of our actions ripened immediately and we could see, wow, this is an immediate consequence of that, we wouldn't, for $1 billion, we wouldn't do one negative action. If somebody begged us, we wouldn't do one small negative action, but we don't see that clearly. Part of the karma of being in this world is our karma is so convoluted and accumulated that we don't see the immediate reactions to our actions. In some cases we can. For example, prisoners in jail is an immediate consequence to a negative action. And when Rinpoche talks about hells, in Buddhism, as he mentioned, hell isn't a place where you can dig a hole into the center of the earth and find a hell. Hell is a projection of an intense negative mental state. But also, if we look in this world, we can find hellish realms. For example, Being in Ukraine right now must be very hellish. Or those soldiers on the front line in the middle of winter in the cold, freezing in the bunkers and the trenches with snow falling on them and bombs coming down on their heads and being hungry and missing their families and having to be afraid that somebody's coming to kill them and then have to kill the other ones and seeing horrible scenes of blood and corpses, and that's a hell. That's a hell. They're living some karmic consequence. It's a hellish experience. Or if you were to visit some of the jails here in Brazil, for example, you walk to the other side of those gates and you're in a hellish experience where people are trying to kill you, people have demonic sort of minds, the jailers treat you horribly, there's physical altercations, violence, killing. It's like a hellish experience. So hell isn't some faraway abstract concept. Through the negativity of our minds, I've been to a number of memory care units for elderly, and some elderly people's dementia unfolds in a way that they feel like they're being attacked, they're being persecuted, they're being beaten, they're in anguish. It's just this projection of their negativity of their mind is coming to the forefront, and everything they're seeing, even if the nurse comes up and treats them with love and kindness, they see it as somebody attacking them. Again, it's a projection of the mind. So the mind is the key. If the body and the speech are a ship, the mind is the captain. So to change the course of the ship, there's no way to do that without changing the mind. So let's do our Tara practice, starting with the 7-line prayer. I don't know about you all on the other side of the camera, but for me, every weekend, doing a contemplation on anger, even though it's a little boring, doing the same thing week after week after week, I feel like it's penetrating my mind. I feel a little difference. Wait a second, don't let your mind go that way. You can't be upset with politics. You can't be upset with the news. You can't be upset with this. You can't be upset with that. Train your mind, transform your mind. That's how contemplation works. You just don't read it one time. Oh, I get it. That's a good idea. What's the next thing? You have to do this methodical, boring, penetrating, deep, soul-searching contemplation. Otherwise, there can't be any change.